Hi guys, this is Michelle from DeceptionBytes, and I want to continue on with Q-ANON's post, but also I wanted to bring up a few other little things, and I had started this recording and I had to erase it because I could not say the word compartmentalized. And the more that I couldn't say it, the more I was laughing because I really couldn't say it, and I said, honestly, I have not been drinking. But anyway, I am just enjoying some raspberries with kefir for my supper, and I've been looking through this stuff, and I'm going to do a short one here, and I'm going to come back tonight. I've got to run some errands, and then I'm going to come back tonight and do another one. But there is so much information here, and someone said, you're behind. Well, yeah, of course I'm behind. If you're going to look at this stuff in depth, it takes time to understand it all and to understand all the connections. There's a lot of information here. And I'm really only scratching the surface of it. And you could probably spend a month researching one post. Like, some of these posts are so full of information. And I thank you for your comments. There's been a couple comments that I want you to draw your attention to because I just thought that they were really pertinent. And there's something else I wanted to draw your attention to too, because someone mentioned it in a comment and I had been looking into the same thing. So I'm going to get started because I have about 45 minutes before I have to leave for errands. Again, this is who you're talking to. I'm not a webcam person, and maybe somebody wrote a comment about that, and I may change that, but I'm just not a person that likes to be on camera, but that's just me. That's a personal thing. And I'll show you this in a minute. And also I wanted to draw your attention to this book. This is my book. It's The View Beneath. It's available on Amazon. And if you're looking for an understanding of what dominionism is and why we should be concerned about it, this is a good book. There's other good books out there as well. I'm not saying that this is the one, you have to buy this, because there's lots of other great authors that have written about dominionism. The very first person that I, in the secular world that I realized really understood this was a woman called Sarah Diamond, and she's a sociologist, I believe, and she's based out of California. And I read her books, and they were very good. She's got a very good understanding of it. But there's also some other Christians that have been involved in movements such as the one I was involved in, and they've come out of it, and they've talked about it. So there's other ones available, but my book has 26 5-star reviews, so I'm proud of that. And people seem to think that it's helped them to understand. But anyway, if you don't read that, and you most certainly, I'm not trying to sell books here, but if you don't read that, please do. There's lots of free resources on the internet about dominionism. So, and there's lots of good people now that are writing about it. When I came out of it, there weren't that many people writing about it or even knew about it or understood it. So you have the advantage of people that have went before you asking questions and searching. So that's what I wanted to say about that. And I wanted to draw your attention to a couple of comments that were made. And the first one says, thanks for the audio fix. If you listen to my first video, it was really low and everyone was complaining. And most people were really nice about it, but there's a few people that, they were a little bit crusty. And I understand that it's frustrating. You're trying to listen to a video and it's really low. And so I re-recorded it. And I uploaded one to replace that, and then I did my second one. So this person is thanking me for the audio fix, DeceptionBytes. This is my issue with anything from 4chan. The alt-right are controlled opposition of the Breitbart milieu. Trump was educated in a Jesuit school. See, I did not know that, and I want to look into that. If anyone else can verify that, then I would ask that you would write a comment down below. So I was not aware that he was educated in a Jesuit school, and that is significant. He's tied to the Knights of Malta. That's also very, very interesting, but I don't know if he would be qualified for the actual Knights of Malta. I did a lot of research into the Knights of Malta, into the official Knights of Malta as compared to the Knights of Malta self-styled groups, and there is a huge difference. Rick Joyner is part of the Knights of Malta, but it's a self-styled group. It's not part of the actual Knights of Malta. So I don't know. Does anybody know Trump background? Was he Catholic? I don't know. I haven't looked that much into his background yet. Anyway, the Saudi arrests and the campaign against the Bush, Clinton, McCain, Podesta, Soros nexus seem to indicate an attack on those centers of U.S. and Saudi power interested in preserving the petrodollar. Yes, they are the ones behind 9/11. However, this campaign is being led by people who want to crash the U.S. economy. That's my whole point, is they're doing the right thing for the wrong reasons. And I think this person gets it. I really do. However, this campaign is being led by people who want to crash the U.S. economy by dropping the dollar as the global reserve and moving towards a one world crypto, likely issued by China via its AC chain. Trump's recent visit to the Forbidden City, where he was seated at the Dragon Throne, indicates his role in facilitating a likely monetary reset. Who are 4chan? Who are anonymous? This is I'm really having a hard time pronouncing things tonight, and I don't know what the issue is, of hackers heavily invested in cryptocurrency, but behind them are shady intel agencies, etc. They get rich if they can destabilize the economy, and a lot of the 4chan stuff are psyops to this end. I would not doubt that at all. To me, what this looks like is a takedown of sections of the U.S. establishment who want to maintain the dollar. Parentheses, Clinton, Bush, McCain, Podesta, Soros, section of the House of Saudi / CIA, versus Trump, Vatican Crown, Intel, etc. Those with the largest investment in gold and crypto versus those tied up in Saudi oil money. They are all pedophiles. They are all Luciferian cultists. In fact, the Trump faction seems to represent the larger section of the global deep state who want to hand control of all finance over to AI programmed by Satanists and institute a one world currency. I do believe they're trying to institute a one world currency, and I do believe that they're trying to crash the dollar. There's no question in my mind. And it's interesting because if you look into dominionism, those who are acting as mouthpiece of the dominionists and the churches and so forth, those ministers that are dominionist, have all been talking for years and years about a global reset, and they would always talk about the wealth of the wicked coming into the hands of the righteous. The problem is their definition of righteous. Their definition of righteous was not the true church, but the Luciferian church. And I know this sounds out there and crazy to most people. I realize it does. But when you've walked in it, when you've seen it in action and been around these people, you know that it's true. Anyway, they would likely use the pretext of emancipating the world from the bad petrodollar actors who did 9/11 to usher this all in via a military coup. Completely agree, and that's what I'm saying. I hope I'm wrong, but this is how I see it. ATM. I'm not sure what that stands for. I'm sorry. Let me know your thoughts. Well, my thoughts are that I think that you've got some really, really good points here, and I agree with most of it, and some of it I only disagree because I don't know. So I'm not disagreeing, I just don't know. But a lot of what you said there is right on. Okay. And another person, by the way, this person's name was Inc. 800 Defy. So I liked what they had to say. I liked what a lot of you had to say. A lot of you added little tidbits and nuggets, and it was good. And this person, UATC, said, really good ideas. I feel the same way. we need to be cautious with this. The Bank of America murals are very alarming as well. Now, can I just interject here? Because when they said the Bank of America murals, it immediately brought up a picture in my mind. Because when I was part of Rick Joyner's church, Morning Star Ministries, it used to be held in an old warehouse on Presley Road in Charlotte, North Carolina. I had come from Canada, and I was going to the ministry school, and myself and another student were out walking the streets of Charlotte at night, because it used to be beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful, breathtakingly beautiful. Well, we walked by the Bank of America building, and we were absolutely enthralled with the murals, because you could see them through the window. And it was so odd to me, because a security guard came out and was really upset with us. And we were looking at each other like, what did we do? We were both dressed nicely. The bank was closed, but the lights were all on inside and we could see. And he was just, wailing on us because we were, outside on the sidewalk. And I said, well, this is a public sidewalk. We're not doing anything wrong. But this security guard, I've never seen the likes of it. He wanted us, he was like, move along. And we weren't doing anything. We weren't touching the glass. We were standing there looking inside the building. But I did come back at another time because I really wanted to be inside and see those murals. And I did go in and I did look at them in depth. And at that time, I found them very fascinating and very creepy. And again, as I was standing there looking at the murals, I had someone accost me and tell me to basically get out of the bank. And I didn't understand that. It's a public building. It's, I'm a woman. I'm a short. I'm not a threat to anybody. I was dressed nicely. I just didn't understand that. But anyway, I saw something recently about that really, really alarmed me because, and I know this is kind of off the topic, but it's still in the topic. And I do believe it's important. Otherwise, I wouldn't take this time to get sidetracked. But I want to show you, first of all, a website. And if you've never been to Vigilant Citizen website, it's really good. They've got some awesome stuff on there. They do a really good job of breaking down the music business, the TV, movies, so forth. And they've got a section in there called Sinister Sites. And I believe that's the section where this is. But let me just see if I could take you there for a second, because I want to show you. Okay, this is the mural that they're talking about, but there's a better picture down here. Okay, and they're saying it's prominently displayed in the lobby of the Bank of America Corporate Center, and it's true. And they're creepy frescoes, and I agree, filled with occult symbols. Even more unsettling is the fact that those images seem to predict events of a radical world change in the not-so-distant future. Are those murals predicting the coming of an occult New World Order? Yeah, I believe they are. We will look at the occult meaning and the symbol found on the Bank of America frescoes. Okay, I don't want to, I'll do a separate video if I'm going to get too far into this, but I do want you to see this. This is the inside of the Bank of America building. This is the fresco that we're concerned about right now. There's other ones, and again, I might do a video and kind of go through these, but it's interesting because I had the opportunity to see that, and then I had come to Canada to visit on around Christmas time one year, and my plane was diverted, and I ended up, it was 48 hours of solid traveling before I got back to New Orleans, and somehow my plane was diverted. I ended up in South Dakota, and all these crazy places. And one of the places where I ended up is Denver, Colorado. So I was able to see those murals, and I took extensive pictures of those. So I may combine that into a video, but let's move ahead. Okay, this is the fresco that most are concerned with right now, and that is kind of in the news. You've got the occultic black sun solar. You've got a woman in a cube, which is significant, as if she's being, manipulated by something on high. And you've got the Masonic checkered background. And you've got three people that some people have pointed out that this you know, could be Barack Obama, and this could be Hillary, and I forget who they said this would be. Anyway, that's really not that important right now, but I'm going to show you something very interesting about that. But we see here a young blonde boy standing on a standard Masonic checkerboard pattern floor. His feet are placed at a 90-degree angle in accordance to Masonic initiation ritual. Okay. And I would suggest that you go to their website and read all of this if you want to. And there's some other great stuff that's been done on it, and some of it on YouTube. So, okay. Behind the boy is a tree on fire, which is reference of the burning bush of the Old Testament. The burning bush is of great importance in Masonic ritual, especially for the 33rd degree, whose members are considered to be near the burning bush. Okay, and then there's stairs and the black sun, and of course stairs is talking about, you know, steps on the path to illumination. So, okay, I would suggest you go and, if you want more information about that, that you go and take a look. But this is what, I saw this, but I had to do it for myself, and I have a degree in graphic art and new media as well. It's one of my undergraduate degrees, and so I wanted to see it for myself. And so what I did is I took this part and I cut it, and then I flipped it over to this part, and I saw other people doing that. And let me see if I can get this a bit bigger for you. There we go. If you look at it, you've got a boy that some are claiming is representative of the young Trump. And you've got the pyramid in the background, but notice that his head is acting as the capstone. And that's very interesting because the capstone represents Lucifer, and they're waiting for his return to earth. Antichrist really return to earth that will inhabit a human body and essentially be representative of the top of the triangle. And it's interesting that his head is the capstone, and you've got this coming out around it, which that's in negative, so that would literally be light coming from his head, and you've got something coming down right into the pineal gland, which is where they say, you know, whatever, there's all this stuff about the pineal gland, and those in the occult place great significance on the third eye and the pineal gland. So you've got illumination coming down from heaven and, you know, right into the pineal gland. And it's interesting. I'm not going to say anything beyond that. I don't know, but it sure is interesting. And I think along with everything, you take it and you evaluate it and you tuck it away, and, you know, that's it. So let's go back to her comment and then move along because my time is running away from me very quickly. Okay, so she said, really good ideas. I feel the same. We need to be cautious with this. The Bank of America murals are very alarming as well. Displayed back in 1994, I believe. Yes, and I got there. I got in Charlotte in 1997 because it was around the same time that Diana was murdered. I mean, you know, killed. But I believe she was murdered. I believe it clearly shows a young Trump, in my opinion. I think that she could be right. Clearly shows, oh yes, Jeb Bush. And actually, I could see that being Jeb Bush. Let me go back to it just for a second here. Okay. Here. Yeah, I could see that being Jeb Bush. And that is definitely a woman in the picture. When you get closer to it, like her eyes, you can tell. But it's interesting. That's all. It's interesting. So shows Obama, Jeb Bush, Freemason symbolism all through the paintings. Yes, agreed. Rosicrucian as well, agreed. Red and white checker floor means blood sacrifice in previous research. Yes, I've heard that too. Sounds very similar to the Dominionism cult you spoke of. Also, the Denver airport and mural and time capsule there that's to be opened in 2094. Yes, and I've been to that, to the Denver airport, and looked at all that. just because I had a layover there. All this talk of darkness, the numerology of the day Trump took office, it's as if this has been a theater play on a world stage in all my life. I question if anything goes is really real. Walmart, martial law. These occult symbols are literally everywhere in everything. Revelation prophecies, the lawless one. I don't know. I was so happy to hear the Queen posts at first, but then I did the same. I mean, really? A military takeover? Martial law, basically? Then things start to click on a higher level. Problem, reaction, solution. They have always controlled the opposition. Yes, that's in fact true. And so that's the thing that I have to be concerned with, because even though it looks like good is prevailing, the opposition's always controlled. And right now, you know, prior to Trump, he was the opposition, but he was controlled. And we know that there were all sorts of predictions. You know, even The Simpsons had an episode that predicted the rise of Trump. So I think that that's been in the works for a very long time, that they've known about that. And I do believe that it's controlled opposition. Now we've got it flipped. So I don't want to believe this. I want him to be legitimate. Me too. I want more than anything else for him to be legitimate. But the writing is literally on the wall. He went to a Jesuit school. His family has deep ties to elite secret societies. I just asked myself, what if this is it? We have been being prepared for my entire life for the end times. Y2K, 2012, the papal prophecies of the 112 popes or the last pope, Nostradamus, 9/11, so many end time biblical events that are clearly staged like events controlled by the system in charge right now. It's as if they've been prepping us for Korea as well. Look at Red Dawn, the new one. Look at the current video games like Homefront and so many others. Sandy Hook, Aurora, Boston, Orlando, Simpsons episodes, BLM, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and so much more. Georgia Guidestones, yeah, that's interesting too. FEMA coffins in Georgia, that's something else that's very interesting. Is this the final storm? Well, I wanted you to be aware of that because I think that she brought up some really, I'm saying she, it could be he, brought up some really interesting things, and now I'm not sure what all that is down there, so I'm just going to go on because time is getting away from me very quickly and I'm on a time crunch tonight. So I think this is where we left off right here last time, so I'm going to continue on. And I think at the very last thing I read was this: they are true patriots. We will never forget. Let these coming days be remembered in our history as a time we fought to recapture the republic from those evil bad actors who for so long have sacrificed the good people of this land for their own personal gain. Fight the good fight. Let justice be served. Okay, we're going to go on. He's saying this is Q, 4 carriers and escorts in the Pacific. Why is that relevant? To prevent other state actors from attempting to harm us during this transition? Russia, China, or conversely, all for North Korea, or all three? Think logically about the timing of everything happening. Note increased military movement. Yes, I've noticed that. I've noticed that in Canada as well, because I'm temporarily here and I live very close to a large military base, and there is constant traffic, like constant traffic. And I know this is a busy military base, but you can tell there's a lot going on. And I've heard that from other people that live near bases in the United States, that there just seems to be a lot of activity to and fro, and increased in activity. So note National Guard deployments starting tomorrow. And indeed, they were deployed prior to the November 4th riots, because remember, Antifa were threatening to cause riots, and there was all that in the news and all that, big scare, and it turned out to be really nothing. Well, this person is saying on November 2nd that the National Guard deployment's starting tomorrow. Note false flags. Well, this was written on November 2nd, and the church shooting was November 5th. Now, I don't know about that church shooting. I need to look into it further. I know that several shootings in the past have been false flags, and I know that we are not being told the truth about Las Vegas, which we'll get into at a later time. I don't know what to think about the church shooting. I feel absolutely sick to my stomach if those people were actually killed, and I do believe they probably were, and it's sickening, and my heart goes out to them, and my heart goes out to their family. We never want anything like that to happen to anyone, not even our enemies. We're to pray for, and not saying that these people are our enemies, but I've heard so many people talk about, even Trump saying that, well, we need to kill all the family of the terrorists too. I mean, really? Like, what is Christian about that? We're to pray for our enemies. We're to love our enemies, and we're supposed to do good to those that despitefully use us. Yes, it may be necessary at times to kill someone in self-defense, but to kill their family, like their little children and their wives, like innocent people, no, that's not Christian. Now it says follow Huma, and it's interesting because when he said this, I started all of a sudden looking into Huma, and wow, there's a lot there. There is so much there that I am barely going to scratch the very, very, very surface of it. And then Q says, prepare messages of reassurance based on what was dropped here to spread on different platforms. So this person Q, and then the calm before the storm. Well, we all know who that is referencing, because that's what Donald Trump said. And I found it rather amusing, actually, when he said it, because he looked like a little boy playing with them. And, I knew that he was serious. I knew that it was something cryptic. But anyway, it truly was, that period truly was the calm before the storm. And right now we're just entering into the storm, or at least we see the storm clouds gathering very quickly. So let's, picking up on this clue, follow Huma. And just 1 second. I am trying to get my supper into me before I leave for errands and do this, and I hope you don't hear me doing that, but I've got a bowl of raspberries with kefir, and I love it. It's like my favorite. It would, as my father would say, my father always used to say, oh, it put hair on your chest. I'm not sure why he was convinced of my need for hair on my chest, but anyway, I can honestly say it has never put a hair on my chest. So let's go on. And I really sincerely hope it does not. Okay. An hour ago, Hilary asked Huma to remove clearance markings. Okay. There is to me, this is how I understand this, and please correct me if someone knows differently, but that there's two systems, or two databases or whatever. There's one that holds the, ultra secret stuff, and then there's one that just holds regular stuff. Well, anything marked with, secretive has to be held in a certain database so that only those with top secret clearance or whatever clearance level they have can access those. And I don't know if I'm sure that there's various levels of clearance. Well, what Hilary did is she asked Huma, and not just her, but we're going to get to the other woman as well. She asked Huma to remove the clearance markings. That way, these could be copied over to the other database, and then she could send them to her personal email. Well, that is extremely dangerous. They keep them in a secure database for a reason. So she takes them, she copies them to a database that is far less secure, and then she forwards it to her personal email, which is extremely insecure. I mean, anyone can get into that. I mean, anybody that knows anything about hacking can. Anyway, the latest release of Hillary Clinton's State Department records contains a doozy of an email in which the then Secretary of State ordered one of her top aides, Huma Abedin, to remove the identity of the author of a memo she had received. The author, Sidney Blumenthal, and that's going to become more pertinent as well, so just remember that name. The author, Sidney Blumenthal, Clinton's longtime friend and off-the-books intelligence provider. Can you print for me without any identifiers? Clinton asked Abedin after receiving the March 9, 2011 memo from Blumenthal, a former journalist who worked on Clinton's 2008 presidential campaign. Yes, replied Abedin, who serves as vice chair of Clinton's current presidential campaign. The Blumenthal memo, which they're referring to there, contains intel on Benghazi, which shed light on the security situation outside of the eventual site of the murder of 4 Americans. Yeah, that's the email that she wanted Huma to remove the security clearance markings on, so that she could put it in the the regular database, and then transfer it to her home email. Because obviously, you would not be able to transfer anything out of the other database anywhere, probably. I mean, I would assume that you would not be able to, and I know for a fact she was not able to. That's why she asked Huma to remove those markings so that she could copy them over to the other database, and then she could forward them to herself. This is like freaking huge. Like, think of the ramifications of this. The Blumenthal memo also contained intel on Benghazi, which shed light on the security situation outside of the eventual site of the murder of 4 Americans. Unbelievable. But the document and Clinton's instructions to Abedin has taken on new significance in light of another mysterious Clinton email released by the State Department last week. That document dump contained a June 17, 2011 email chain in which Clinton instructed her foreign policy advisor, Jake Sullivan, to strip a set of talking points of its identifying heading and to send them non-secure. So this is obviously not a one-time thing. This is something that Clinton did routinely. Sullivan had intended to send the talking points, which appear to have dealt with an intense standoff in Sudan's oil region, via a fax line reserved for classified information. Whew. Yeah. So, the 4 carriers and escorts in the Pacific, I don't know. Maybe somebody with a military background or with more knowledge of this could write a comment below, because I mean, that's a lot of carriers and escorts in the Pacific, and it looks to me like a buildup of military, but I don't know. Is it to threaten North Korea? I don't know. So let's go on to the next one. Oh, did I cover, because there was another couple of interesting, oh yes, I left, oh, can't go on yet. Then there's the Huma Hilary sex tape. Yes, there is one. Honestly, you can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. So, I'm going to take you there. On my creepy crawly computer, which is so slow. I've got to get more RAM. Okay, Liz Crokin, and she's a right-wing journalist who's dedicated her career to exposing the supposed fact that leading government, entertainment, and business leaders are involved in massive satanic pedophile cult, posted a video on Liberty One TV network earlier this week in which she asserted that a sex tape featuring Hillary Clinton will soon be released and will prove once and for all that Pizzagate conspiracy theory is true. Hillary Clinton sex tape. Wow. Citing an article from Newsweek about a Russian internet troll who claimed to have worked for a propaganda agency that produced a fake Clinton sex tape that was designed to be released during the 2016 election in order to help Donald Trump, Crokin insisted that a real Clinton sex tape does exist, and that the Newsweek article was just an effort to condition people to dismiss it as fake once it's released. I can believe that. And actually, Crokin is quite respected Otherwise, I would have dismissed this completely. Asserting that it was no coincidence that Newsweek posted this article, since the magazine is an arm of the deep state and employs known pedophiles, Crokin said that a genuine sex tape featuring Clinton, her top aide Huma Abedin, and an underage girl was discovered by authorities when they seized the laptop owned by Abedin's husband, Anthony Weiner. We know that his laptop was seized. We know that they found all sorts of depraved acts on there. That is not too far-fetched for me to believe. But it is sick. It's absolutely sick. Crokin claimed that there were so many videos featuring high-level political figures doing horrible things to children found on Weiner's laptop that when the New York Police Department officers watched them, it made grown men cry. You know, I could honestly see that, because there's one thing that seems to really touch most people, and that's the abuse of children. They cannot handle that. And probably a lot of them have children at home, and they're thinking of their own children. So I could see that it would really upset. I think it would upset anyone that's human. It's only a matter of time before all these files are released, Crokin said. And if and when this happens, let me tell you, no one will be able to deny that Pizzagate isn't real. Nobody will be able to deny that the likes of the Clintons and John Podesta and many, many politicians and many members of Congress are involved in the satanic rape and torture of kids. So that is that. And I guess we're just going to have to keep our ears open for if that's released. I mean, I don't think they're going to release and show it, but at least I really hope not. That's something, I'd need bleach to get that out of my eyes. So let's go back here. And what else do I have here? I think I have some other goodies. That's just another, it's a YouTube that really is just Liz Crokin saying the same thing that I just said. And here it says that Liz Crokin is an award-winning author, journalist, political pundit, and an advocate for sex crime victims. Her work has appeared in the Red Eye edition of the Chicago Tribune and the Chicago Sun-Times, Splash, Town Hall, Elite Daily, Marie Claire, and U.S. Weekly. So this isn't just some Yahoo that's, throwing stuff out there. She is respected. So I don't think she would risk that respect by making up something that's a complete fallacy. I can't see that personally. Now this just says who Huma is, and Huma Mahmoud Abedin is an American political staffer who was vice chair of Hilary Clinton's 2016 campaign for president of the United States. She was married, now divorced, to Anthony Weiner, and you have to feel sorry for her for that. But it appears as if she's just as bad. So, now, Q asks on November 2nd at 2:14 a.m., would it blow your mind if I told you Barack Obama has been to North Korea? Not at all. And perhaps there now? Nope. Wouldn't blow my mind. Why did his administration do little to slow their nuclear and missile capabilities? That's a good question, isn't it? Because they really did. They did nothing, or little. And let's see what I have linked here, what comments I have linked. Okay. September 17th, speaking before the UN General Assembly today, President Donald Trump announced that unless North Korea gives up its nuclear weapons and ballistic missile programs, the United States will have no choice but to totally destroy the country. He sounded almost excited as he threatened. Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime. North Korea is a serious problem and not one of Trump's making, and I believe that. The last 4 American presidents failed to impede North Korea's progress towards nuclear weapon. President George H.W. Bush took unilateral action, removing U.S. nuclear weapons and reducing America's troop levels in the region, hoping to incentivize good behavior. President Bill Clinton and George W. Bush tried to negotiate restrictions. President Barack Obama mostly averted his eyes. North Korea defied them all. Okay, and as Newsweek, Greg Price reported last month, when it comes to North Korea and its weapons, there is blame to share among the last 3 administrations, including that of former President Barack Obama, for whom Clinton served as Secretary of State for 4 years. Obama adopted the so-called strategic patient stance, meaning he focused on diplomatic efforts and sanctions to slow the North's march towards becoming a nuclear power. Obama also employed cyber attacks on the regime, but none of it obviously was effective in stopping the regime, though there were fewer threats of nuclear annihilation then than there are now. Well, okay. As the Daily Beast has reported, critics of the Iran nuclear deal with the West have gone so far as to raise the possibility that Iran continues to develop nuclear weapons and missiles inside North Korea. And Iran and North Korea are cozy little bedfellows. They really are. And as we see, I think Q is, if not telling us, intimating that the money that Barack Obama sent to Iran, some of that went to North Korea to help develop their nuclear weapons. So, okay. 6 things you need to know about the Iran nuclear deal. So I'm going to take you here right now. On a very slow journey. Gosh, it's like my computer is run by hamsters. Okay. 6 things to know about the Iran nuclear deal. Come on. Come on. You can do it. All right. The deal aims to extend the time it would take for Iran to make a nuclear bomb. Okay, I think most of us know that that's what the purpose of that was. Some of Iran's major nuclear facilities will be subject to constant monitoring, but if international inspectors suspect violations elsewhere, they may have to wait as long as 24 days. Anywhere, anytime, inspections were never really a goal. As part of the agreement, the United States and other countries will lift economic sanctions against Iran on implementation day in 2016, allowing Iran access to billions of dollars. If Iran slips up, the sanctions can come back, though not without problems. And even if the United States were to reject the deal before implementation, the sanctions wouldn't work in the same way. So this I found on PolitiFact. And you can look that up if you want to read it more in depth. PolitiFact sheet, 6 things you need to know about the Iran nuclear deal. It's quite fascinating and enlightening. So now we're getting to some interesting things. And I'm sorry, but I have to take another bite because I am on a schedule here. And I want to get this in me before I go. Okay. I'm sorry, that's incredibly rude, but what deal was done with Iran under Barack Obama? Well, it was the Iran nuclear deal. And this is what I had to say about that. The controversial $400 million payment that the U.S. sent to Iran in January, just as 4 American hostages were released, a plane load of euros, Swiss francs, and other currencies, was only the first of 3 American cash deliveries to the country, the Obama administration reportedly told lawmakers on Tuesday. During the 19 days following the first shipment, the U.S. sent 2 more plane loads of cash, totaling $1.3 billion to Tehran, reports the Wall Street Journal. The 2 plane loads, which passed through Europe on January 22nd and February 5th, followed the same route as the earlier payment, a congressional aide who was briefed told the Journal. In the first payment, an Iranian cargo plane picked up the money in Geneva. It seems instead that Trump's case against the deal is more political and strategic. His team believes that Iran is an enemy of the United States, one that frustrates U.S. objectives in places like Iraq and Yemen, and that the nuclear deal hasn't done much to solve the problem. Iran is an adversarial power that is working against the vital interests of the region. The deal doesn't make Iran any better, so the deal doesn't serve our interests. James J. Carafano, a foreign policy expert at the Conservative Heritage Foundation who served on the Trump transition team, tells me. There's a core truth to this case. Iran's behavior is extremely problematic in a whole host of ways, from testing ballistic missiles to funding violent militia groups around the Middle East. So, I don't know where I've been, possibly living under a rock, but I didn't know all that money went to Iran. I'm sure probably most of y'all did, but I don't know. I guess I've been living under a rock. Now we're getting to some information, interesting information. So he did this Iran nuclear deal, and this is very interesting. And I think it's one of the things that Q really wants us to focus on. And I'm telling you this because the very first words that he opened his very first post with, well, it wasn't a word, but it was SCI parentheses F. And that stands for Secret Compartmentalized Information Facilities. So he's drawing our attention to this. Okay, why wasn't Congress notified? Because it was filed under classified information at secret compartmentalized information facilities. So they would need secret clearance to view it. And let me see here. I put this. Scattered around the U.S. Capitol complex are a series of sensitive, it stands for sensitive, not secretive. Sorry, it's kind of the same thing, but sensitive compartmentalized information facilities, or SCIFs. And remember, that's the very first thing that came out of Q's, it didn't come out of his mouth, but his typewriter, I guess, when he posted the very first message. Facilities, or SCIFs, which are typically used to hold top secret information. But today, in these deeply secure settings, are a series of unclassified documents. So what if there were unclassified documents in there that are really anybody should be able to see? Well, anybody with proper clearance in the government should be able to see, but they can't because they're being housed in a facility which keeps secret compartmentalized information, and that you need a higher security level to view. But today, in these deeply secure settings are a series of unclassified documents, items dealing with the Iran nuclear deal that are not secret, but that the Obama administration is nevertheless blocking the public from reading. So it sounds like they're unclassified documents in the sense that anyone, the public, should be able to read them. But they're kept in these secret facilities. Why? Why would someone do that? Why would someone keep these documents that should be open to anyone locked away in a facility that's meant to hold, items pertaining to top secret clearance? Well, it's obvious to me he's wanting to limit open debate. You can't debate something that you don't know about. You can't oppose something you don't know about. So it's obvious he's hiding something. It's obvious he's wanting to hide it from the public, and probably from others in government. And why is that? He certainly doesn't want debate on it. He certainly doesn't want people opposed to it. So it's very interesting. To me, this is really fascinating stuff. Now, he says, why after Barack Obama left office, all of a sudden North Korea has nukes and the tech to miniaturize for payload delivery within the U.S. probably was supplied by Iran. And it's interesting because then he says this. What about the NSA, CIA, and DI, etc., all confirming that technology won't be in place for 5+ years? Those statements were made in 2016, and yet now in 2017, he all of a sudden has the technology for payload delivery within the U.S. what happened. What happened? Were the NSA, the CIA, and the Defense Intelligence, were they all wrong? Or did somebody supply them and give them the ability to get further along sooner? And that's what I think has happened, and I think that's what Q is hinting at right here. And I think he's also not hinting, but slapping us over the head with the fact that Barack Obama probably had something to do with that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Send me along the right path, give me information, whatever, in the comments, because I am interested in the truth, and I don't want to be putting something out there or assuming something that isn't true. So please correct me if you know information to the contrary. And then on November 2nd, we have this 4-10-20, which stands for Donald J. Trump, because the 4th letter is D, the 10th letter is J, the 20th letter is T. But I don't know what this A, B, C, D, E is. I don't know. Unless that's just the hint of how to decode this, because he's saying, the alphabet A, B, C, D, E. That's how I would interpret that. But I'm going to have to close this part. I know this has been a little bit short, but it's actually gone longer than I thought. Because I do have to go. I have some errands to run this evening. I want to get this uploaded, and then when I come back from my errands, which shouldn't be too long, I'm going to work on another video and try to get that uploaded tonight before I nod off. So I thank you, everybody, and I appreciate the comments. I appreciate you watching and listening, and if you want to hear more of these, if you want to, there's my PayPal below. That you certainly, I'm going to make these whether I have support or not, but it does make it easier in terms of getting equipment and so forth. So certainly no pressure there at all, because I am going to do these whether or not. But I am spending time doing these that I should be investing in making a living, making my living. So anyway, I am looking forward to doing more of these. I've got lots more information. I've got lots more connections to make, and I'm looking forward to doing it. And thanks for coming along on the ride. And I'll see you in a bit. Thanks so much. I'm going to get this turned off now. Bye.